Hey, Gabriel Blake.
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
Where are we today?
We are still separated by almost an entire continent. I'm in San Francisco, you're in Chicago. But
Yeah,
I
but
will say that we just planned our next reunion. Tell me about it.
well, no, we have planned a reunion, but there may be other reunions in between
That's
because we
true.
did. Already we have spent like almost 2 hours talking before this. Well, one. There was something else that I will tell you after the podcast that I had in mind. But in any
Alright.
case, yeah, we plan for going to see Bjork in San Francisco because she made an announcement about an American tour, well, a United States of American tour that is only going to be in Los Angeles and San Francisco because they are the two main cities of the States.
But it's like God spoke to her and she's like, Blake's really lonely. Why don't you go have some shows a few blocks from his house?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, okay.
I'll do it. I'll do it for you.
And also, I'm sure we've told this story before, but we met at the Bjork show. That's where our friendship solidified.
So it's almost like just coming full circle.
Exactly. So after that, we can say goodbye.
Exactly. So we made our thing, that's fine. Maybe we should actually record a podcast from the
From
concert.
the Bjork show.
But yeah,
We
in any
can
case,
review her movie that she made with Matthew Barney on that Japanese
God.
whaling vessel.
we never actually talk about Dancer in the Dark.
All right, I'm adding it to the list.
And I had the feeling that the Norseman probably is going to be out by then.
Okay, so maybe we'll do that. I mean, we've seen Dancer in the Dark a lot.
Yeah, there's no need for just going over it again. But talking about going over it, what did we watch this time?
We watched the 2013/2014 release starring Scarlett Johansson, Under the Skin.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Which is one of the... I don't want to say it's one of the first films, but it was in the first year of our relationship where we're like, oh, dude, you have to see this film. Which was a bit risky because we knew we liked Michael Haneke, we hated Lars von Trier, but like new stuff like this, it was a little bit of a, what if he hates this and I loved it?
Yeah, honestly, maybe we talk about it and we recommended it to each other, but I went with Edwin to watch it. And I remember just leaving the cinema and said like, this was surprisingly good. I didn't think for a second about I'm seeing Scarlett Johansson completely naked.
I could be wrong because in my head, usually I'm the one who's the winner. I think I recommended this to you. I'm going to have to look up our Google chats to see who recommended it to who, but I think I was like, Jose, you need to fucking go see this film.
I don't know
That's
if
your
we even.
recollection or not?
I don't have any recollection about like someone recommended it to someone else. I had the feeling that I just read like my memory is that maybe I just read something and we independently saw it. And I was trying to think about like what was the first movie that we watched together before Let's Be Cops, because that doesn't really count.
That was not our first film.
No, it wasn't, but it was our second probably. The first one was that movie of that priest on the UK. I don't know if you remember that he goes back to a small village, and it's a bit more of a dark comedy thing.
By some of the same people who made In Bruges. Yes, I remember 100%.
Yeah, and every 6 months we actually discuss about like, hey, do you remember the title of that? And we never remember it. I only remember that this was good. Maybe we should actually watch it like a celebration of our, friendship. When it actually just came.
Kevin Branagh?
Maybe,
I think he
yeah.
either wrote it or directed it. I'll check.
Yeah, sounds good. But in any case, this time we watched Under the Skin. This was your pick, so why did you pick it?
I'm trying to remember our last recording.
We watched, on the previous one, we watched Lamb.
Honestly, I can't remember. Besides, it's been, 8 years since we've seen it. We both really liked it. We liked the acting, we liked the premise, the fact that most of the people didn't know they were being filmed. And I think we just wanted to revisit it after all these years, and we loved it.
Yeah, I mean, we like it. Now I like that. I already toned it down. It's like we love it. We like it. I'm not giving away my score or anything at this point. But what I was going to say is that we were discussing about how Lamb had been a bit of a disappointment as a disturbing or unsettling movie. That it didn't actually just live up to the expectations. And then we were talking about other horror unsettling movies from A24, and this was one of them. So we both remember about like we like it, we want to see about like what can A24 do when they actually put themselves to it.
Besides Lamb and Midsommar.
Correct. And Hereditary, and It Follows, It Comes at Night. There is like a lot of horror disturbing stuff that they have done.
And I'll just premise this by saying it's not that we love their entire catalog, but I think both of us find A24's catalog to be a little bit more interesting than most of what comes to theaters. When we see the A24 like introduction card, okay, this is probably going to be interesting. Might not be good, but it will be interesting.
Yeah, but I have to say that after Lamb, I felt a bit of a letdown. That I think that I even told you this. Is like I had the feeling that A24 are becoming the indie cinema equivalent of Marvel movies. About like you are using some kind of a script about saying what can fall into this. Is that they're like the same elements that you would say is like this one makes an A24 movie.
I don't disagree with you, but I would argue that when A24 goes to Cannes and they have a film that's beautiful, weird, maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it wins a serious award at Cannes, and they're like, we'll buy this and release it, you can't blame them for doing that, I think.
So, do you think that they bought it after they won the award? Didn't they actually produce it?
Well, now I don't know. I would have to go look. But I'm guessing, mostly because I went to Sundance so many times, that the films show up without a distribution company, and they leave with...
Okay. No, that may be fair. I don't know the story, but from my perspective, it's like this feels like A24 canon fodder.
And that would change the way I feel about it, to be honest, because if this was just like some unique independent filmmaker that wanted to go make this fucking weird film, and then somebody bought it at Cannes, that's one story. If A24 is like, we're gonna do a shit ton of marketing, we're gonna send you to Venice, we're gonna send you to Berlin and Cannes, it's...
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, that's the part that I had a bit of a problem, that it's almost like A24 is becoming a Netflix of sorts. About like, hey, if we actually give money to this director, it's like he's going to be like doing something cool for us. It's not about like this director has a cool idea, he does his thing or he presents his thing. It's a bit more about like just the inverse. The opposite there. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, so that's the point that I wanted to watch this movie again, because it's true that I used to respect A24. This last movie left me a bit of a... Lamb. It left me a bit of a... where is this going to go?
I totally understand that, and I left the theater after Lamb a little bit disappointed. I mean, it was still an interesting ride, but I was like,
Yeah. In any case, this is not about Lamb. Lamb is in the past. Thankfully, rightfully, I don't know exactly how to say it. But this is about Under the Skin, as this was your pick. I guess that I have to summarize it a bit. Nothing that there is like too much to summarize in any case. It's not like a story heavy with thousands of characters or anything. But the movie stars Scarlett Johansson playing what we think that is an alien. And she basically, her own lead role is actually driving around the streets of Glasgow or Edinburgh, somewhere in Scotland.
Yep.
And she basically goes hunting for guys. And after she finds a guy that doesn't have any family or anyone waiting for him, basically kidnaps them, seduces them. She's a seductress. And she takes them to some place where basically they get engulfed in a very disturbing and unsettling scene. They get engulfed by a pool of black water or goo, and then we see at some point that they are like just being processed and just consumed as food.
Everything under their skin was consumed, and the skin was left.
Correct. Yep. And just floating in there. And actually, we assume that probably that skin is actually what they can inhabit, like these aliens. But in any case, after some kidnappings, Scarlett Johansson's character sees the errors of her ways, and she starts embracing more and more her humanity as the skin that she's inhabiting. So she leaves behind the house, even lets away the last person that she kidnapped. That is a person that it looks like straight from the Elephant Man, and I was debating if that was CGI or not, but it was like a real person with that face.
Was it? I was gonna Google it, and I was like, I don't want to know.
Yeah, it is. And then basically she runs away and she gets adopted by this guy that is like treating her with respect. At the end they try to have sex and she discovers that she doesn't have a vagina, so she runs away. She goes into a forest, I know that I'm summarizing a lot, to just disconnect or anything, and then a lumberjack tries to rape her. And after seeing that she's an alien, because we start seeing how her skin is ripping off and we see the black alien below, is the lumberjack comes back and sets the alien on fire. The end. Like, extremely summarized. I'm just giving a synopsis.
There are more details we could add, but overall, like, if you told that to somebody who hadn't seen the film, I would be like, yeah, that's what it's about.
That's what happens. That's what happens. There are many scenes that they may last 1 minute or 2 minutes about like just psychedelic light.
Yes, and like examining Scarlett Johansson's her fake face and like going out of these effects. So let me jump in here and say I don't disagree with you at all, but I did find some nuance to everything that we were shown this time around that I didn't get the first time, and I will say that I really liked the film the first time. But when this film opens, we see some of the weirdest opening imagery that we see for any film, regardless of whether it's sci-fi. It's so abstract that we don't really know what's happening. And in my opinion, what we're seeing is that Scarlett Johansson's character, the black alien underneath her skin, is being created. She's sent to Scotland. She starts to do her thing. She experiences humans as both good and bad, but mostly good, which I think is an accurate representation of the actual world. But she doesn't understand what's happening. And I do want to say that there is this man on a motorcycle that follows her everywhere. And there's a very important scene in the beginning of the film where there's a woman who is almost lifeless, and she's brought by the biker to the weird home or portal that Scarlett Johansson inhabitates, and you see her crying as Scarlett Johansson takes off her clothes and puts that woman's clothes on herself. And I mention this because this viewing, I'm fairly certain that we're supposed to see an alien life form coming to Earth, experiencing mostly the good that humanity is, some of the bad. And like you said, it helps her evolve and to see humanity as something not just to be eaten. She eventually goes off on her own path. Motorcycle guy, who I think is her alien guardian, who's just there to make sure that she does what she needs to do, desperately tries to stop her from doing that, but because she meets both good and bad humans, she goes off on this journey, and she's mostly wordless, which I think is very important because as viewers, we are constantly left guessing what the fuck is going on, and we're projecting our own shit, which I think is why I like this film the first time I saw it and the second time I saw it, because it was so open for interpretation.
Yep.
And that sometimes is my most favorite type of film, because what you saw and what I saw could be radically different. We could discuss it, we could disagree, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I would say could actually get the caveat is like, that it matters or it doesn't matter. It's that at the end of the day, it's like what we take away from the movie may be different. I also appreciate that this movie doesn't have like too much exposition. It doesn't tell you like much about the world or anything. It's a bit more like, and this happened. Deal with it. It's similar in that aspect to Lamb, that there is no exposition. You don't know that the kid, that they had a daughter and the daughter died. We don't know why they're not asking themselves, why do we have like a half human, half lamb creature in front of us? But the thing is, like, in that movie, it feels more lazy. It feels a bit more like we don't have to give an explanation. And in this one, is like we want you to just imagine like the space between the information that we're giving you. And I think that is like done like way more elegantly, because it's true is that we actually see the motorcycle, the biker guy, and then there is a second one at some point, and they're like basically like the cleaners. It's a bit more about like other aliens potentially that they are like just part of the mission. We never see them communicating with each other, but when she actually runs away, they are looking for her. So it's a bit more of an organized, we don't know if it's an invasion or what, it doesn't really matter, but I like that. I also have to say is that part is like this works. Is that it could be a complete disaster, but this actually works from the perspective of, I don't need to tell you anything. I want you to think about it. I want you to just take whatever you want.
I completely agree with you, and I like the way you said it, is that while there's not that much exposition in Lamb, it's way more elegantly done in Under the Skin, because I'm thinking about Lamb and like, you see, I'm going to mispronounce her name again, Numi Rapis.
Rapis, yeah.
She's doing the cross over the grave of her child, and then she does have conversations with her husband where she's like, this baby is a gift, and they named the lamb child the same as their dead child. So there's a lot of like, hey, this is about the loss of a child and looking for like healing and not doing it right, and like it's kind of in your face, which is interesting because after I saw Lamb, I thought, wow, that was kind of subtle and interesting. But then when I watched Under the Skin, I was like, no, this is how you do a film with no exposition, almost no exposition. It was incredible.
Yeah, and besides that, is the kind of film like you're thinking about sci-fi. You expect that there has to be some exposition because they are concepts that they are not familiar to us. If you see someone like going to the supermarket and buying something, is that you can relate to that. In this specific case, I really hope that no one in the audience can relate. I really hope that no one in the audience can relate to someone that is like driving around in a van looking for potential sex victims. I really hope that we don't have that kind of audience, honestly. But all the sci-fi stuff is like, it doesn't use cliches. It doesn't feel like cliches. It's like most of the sci-fi is not going to be like so gruesome, on the perspective of just kidnapping someone. They will use violence, In this case, it's a bit more about like, if we want to kidnap people, that they are completely alone, because that's going to be like people that they're not going to be like leaving any kind of trace. People are not going to be like searching for them to harm, because no one is interested in finding them.
I do remember seeing the trailer for this film before I saw it in 2014, whenever we saw it, and some asshat film critic, just like us, said, like,
talk about you,
like me, it said, we've something like, I'm going to misquote it, but we finally found an heir to Stanley Kubrick. And I got super annoyed when I read that, because I was like, there's no heir to Stanley Kubrick. And then I saw the film, and you see the completely, maybe not metaphorical, but abstract introduction. There's no explanation. The images, my God, they're so fucking cool. They are so beautiful, from the motorcycle guy driving down these tiny highways in the rain, or her seducing these men into the black pool where they're stuck in this liquid, or from her being on a cold beach in Scotland, and she like trying to figure out these emotions she was having about like a kid, being sucked out into the water, and then the dad trying to save the kid, and like they were so fucking cool, and I feel like they stood the test of time in the last 8 years since we saw it the last time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the parallels with Kubrick, it may be a bit too heavy-handed from the perspective that it's true that there are some extremely abstract scenes, and I think that that's the part that it really correlates more, or like resonates with Kubrick's style about in 2001. That those scenes that they are 1 minute of just random psychedelic lights is a bit more that I could have removed these, and I would still have gotten the same, except the first one.
And I agree. I think that whoever wrote that he was the heir to Kubrick meant that this director had watched some Stanley Kubrick films and took some notes. He's
definitely.
Not the heir. He's incredibly talented, and he showed some beautiful images. But if you try and compare this to A Clockwork Orange, to 2001: A Space Odyssey, I mean, the sophistication or to go to our questions, the timelessness of it, I'm not sure this film will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
It has for the last 8 years because it's fucking cool and it's disturbing, and watching Scarlett Johansson try to find out why she can't receive a penis in her vagina, it's some of the funniest and most disturbing scenes that I've seen in a long time.
I had to say that the scene of the family with the dog on the beach is freaking disturbing. I had completely forgotten it, and I felt that this is really disturbing.
I took some video chats because my dog was very upset by this film. I don't know why, but he was barking at the screen the entire time. And so I sent a video to my friend who has young children. And that little toddler, not even a toddler, almost a baby, is just sobbing on the beach after he watched this woman kill her father. And there's some real, genuine moments of horror, but kind of in the same way that Michael Haneke shows us horror. This is what you came to see. I'm not showing a lot of blood, but this is horrific what you're watching. What are you trying to feel? Or what are you feeling right now?
Yeah, it's that scene I had to say that it's perfectly realized. I think that is the most disturbing one compared with anything else. And there is no blood. The only blood is when Scarlett Johansson just hits with a stone to the swimmer. But everything else is just completely harmless.
Which I'll preface this by saying, I like this film, but that scene in particular was she didn't hit him hard enough to kill him. This is the weirdest. They should have done something to make this scene more realistic. It was the most unrealistic scene in the film.
But I don't think that she's trying to kill him. I think that she's trying to just knock him out. Because just think about the woman that they take at the beginning, she's still alive. I think that there is still some kind of condition about you can only take people that they're alive. Otherwise, is that they could have just the motorist guy, the rider, the motorcycle rider, is that he could just be killing people and just taking them back to the base.
But in my opinion, my interpretation of that woman is that she was Scarlett Johansson's predecessor, and she came to Earth, she was eating men until she learned to feel something. And that's why she was paralyzed, and they came and stripped her, and she started to cry even though she couldn't move. And I think that was a perfect indicator of the journey that Scarlett Johansson was going to have, because she started to eat people, and then she started to feel feelings, she started to want to understand what it meant to be human, and eventually she had to die for the next one to come. And I know this is very deep, but this is what I went in the afternoon when I watched it.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, I would only say that, do you think that a person that basically cannot, a creature that cannot eat, they don't have bodily functions, they don't have a vagina and probably don't have an anus either, they could be designed with the idea of they can cry?
I mean, if they were built to perfectly replicate humans, absolutely. Because you see that when Scarlett Johansson basically has her skin ripped off of her and we see the black alien, you see that she doesn't have eyes. The eyes that she had in her skin were completely replicating humans.
Correct, but just think that she cannot eat. She doesn't have a vagina, she's not going to be peeing or anything.
I actually had the thought when the man who tried to rescue her from the bus, he was super kind, and she decided to try and have sex with him, and that's when she realized her vagina wasn't real. And then I was like, well, they can just have anal sex. And then I was like, no, it's all fake.
Me and my boyfriend would decide the same comment, and he says like, if she doesn't have a vagina, what makes you think that she's going to have an anus? It probably doesn't.
Yeah,
She should have like a mouth, but it's not going to have a throat either. You know, the throat is going to be fake. It's that she's only designed with the perspective of just imitating humans and not too deep. You know.
Because the holes aren't real, so nothing is super deep.
Correct.
I see what you're saying, but also in the real world, we discuss about AI, what we're creating. At some point, it's going to be able to feel. It's going to look at humans as less. Like Bill Gates is saying this, Elon Musk is saying this. They say we have to be super careful with AI because we won't be able to control it. That's what I thought of. What I thought about this alien civilization that we never saw. We just saw a vessel come to America, and that vessel not being able to relate to humanity in the way they hoped, or maybe it's the opposite. They hoped the alien would not relate with humanity, but they did. And taking a further step back, this is what I think is so interesting about this film, is that regardless about whether you and I agree about what we saw, there's a lot to unpack here, a lot. And the fact that the script doesn't over-explain anything, I think is its strongest strength, its biggest strength, next to Scarlett Johansson's performance. And I do want to point out that Scarlett Johansson literally drove around Scotland in a truck, looking just a little bit different, and the filming of these young men are actually young men hitting on her, and she invites them into their truck. I don't think I've ever seen a film that does something that interesting.
Do you have confirmation about that? I didn't look for it. The only thing that I wanted to confirm is I had a feeling that you had told me back then that they use a body double for Scarlett Johansson, and they didn't. It was like her.
100%, not all of the scenes, but some of the scenes you can clearly tell the filming is grainy. They're very unsure about, like, you can tell this is quote unquote like amateur footage. And yes, I read it today. Those guys thought they were getting a ride from a hot chick that looked like Scarlett Johansson, and she was talking sexy to them. Which, when have you seen that in a feature film?
Yeah, I had to say that all the characters that they're like credited is like David Smith is like, as himself.
Yep.
Is like, just
no
imagine.
Idea he was going to walk into a black pool of liquid with an erection in front of Scarlett Johansson, and he thought it was the best day of his life.
Well, I mean, there are like worse ways to go. I mean, if you exclude the part that is like, then you're going to be like sucking out of all your innards and just turning to goop. But that part about like just like being seduced by Scarlett Johansson, it's not bad.
I know, and if I think about the gay equivalent, because you and I are super gay, like if I was walking around San Francisco and some guy that looked like Michael Fassbender, but not enough, I didn't think it was Michael Fassbender, invited me into his car and then said, hey, I have a place, let's go. I would have gone, and I would have had an erection when I walked into the Black Goo, just like all these guys. I was like, this is like art imitating reality, imitating art.
Okay, that's fair. I think that they play a bit. What do you think that is like the message of this movie?
I'm a little bit disappointed in my answer to this because I felt like the film was a little bit more complex. But what I think the filmmaker was trying to say is that humanity is mostly good and some bad, and whatever alien civilization we're watching is good and bad, and we didn't see a bridge between the two until that logger tried to rape her. And that was the first time we saw a connection between the two, because she had been not physically raping, but she had been seducing these men to basically die so whoever could eat them. She had had mostly unfamiliar experiences. One of my favorite scenes is when she's just walking at night and this group of girls come up and they just want her to come to the club, and she's like, I don't know what the fuck to do this. Why are you putting makeup on each other? I don't understand this. And I guess my point is that regardless of whether you're human or alien is metaphorical. People are mostly good and there's some bad, and we can relate to each other, whoever is the quote-unquote other, because we're the same. And it goes back to the film. It doesn't matter what the skin shows, it's about what's under the skin, and what's under the skin is mostly good and sometimes bad.
Yeah, and I think that actually we see through the transition that she does, that at the beginning it's a complete symmetry. As I see Star like just devouring other people, like abusing other them, and she finds like that empathy through that guy, like the deformed guy, and she then like turns things around, and she can just be a bit more of a defenseless creature, and how this guy tries to help her, and then it's like she ends up in being a victim, exactly as she was actually just killing other people, like she gets killed. So I see that kind of symmetry. I don't know if I took like a really deep message. It's true that both characters, like when you think about like the deformed guy, is like that's what triggers like, oh, it's not about like the skin, it's not about like your physical appearance. It's a bit more about like what is inside you, and that's the reason why she let him go away. And that's the same reality for her. It's not about like the skin that I have, that is like how the movie ends up, how she's looking at the face, how the alien is looking at the Scarlett Johansson face. But I have to say that for me, it didn't actually just materialize in anything that I felt super transcendental. I just felt it's been cool. It's a sci-fi movie. I didn't feel like a study of humanity or anything.
But didn't you find the metaphor at the end where the logger is trying to rape her? He can't do it. We understand why he doesn't. And he actually physically rips her body, her bodysuit, and he immediately decides to kill her. What he thinks is under her skin. He has no idea. And if she's an alien, maybe he should make friends with her. I just found so many metaphors, and actually this is super cheesy, but you know very well that I was a vegetarian for 7 years, a pescatarian for 7 years, and only at the end of that 7 years, because I chose to eat seafood, because I felt like seafood didn't mourn, they didn't have emotions. And then I watched a documentary maybe last year where I found out that octopi are super fucking smart. They make friendships, they're so sweet. And I was devastated that I realized that I had not eaten pigs or chickens for 7 years, and I was eating octopi.
Yeah.
I had that thought when I watched this, that probably that alien, Scarlett Johansson, came to this earth thinking that she was eating like an emotionless, stupid existence of an entity, and then she learned, holy shit, like this isn't okay, and she went on this emotional journey. I don't know, maybe this is all stupid, but I saw a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there is nothing here, I'm just saying that for me it was more a sci-fi narrative. It's like I left the movie like both times when I watched it on the cinema and hear about like it was good. It was a good movie. It was a minimalistic, low budget, smart sci-fi movie, but it's not telling me anything. I don't take anything about humanity or about like how we behave. It's not a Haneke movie. It's like I don't think that it just, for me personally, I'm not saying that it was not the purpose, but for me it doesn't get to tell me anything that is transcendental. It's a bit more about like the lack of empathy that she has at the beginning and how at the end she gets treated exactly in the same way. So you have like that kind of symmetry, and for me I just walk away with like, okay, that's nice.
I see that 100%, but I also saw that after I watched this film, and I watched it today at maybe 1 p.m., 2 p.m. because I'm unemployed now, I found myself desperate to read, not to have other people explain what the movie was about, but to explain what they got out of the film, because I don't think what you get out of this film is wrong, no matter what. The filmmakers, the scriptwriter, they clearly made a choice to make this completely open-ended and ambiguous. And for me, when I'm desperate to read more about a film to understand other people's interpretations, that means that's a great film for me. And I know you didn't want to use the word great, but I'm going to use the word great.
That's absolutely fine, man. In any case, I don't think that this is a failure or anything. I think that it's like one, as you said at the beginning, as this is such a low exposure movie with very few narrative tidbits. Is that everything is nuance, everything is like up to interpretation. Whatever you get out of it is completely legit. If it resonates with you, that's great. If it doesn't, it's fine too.
And whatever you got is valid. So for you,
Yeah.
if it wasn't that interesting, that's valid because the filmmaker. No. I didn't mean to say that in like a diminutive way, but I'm saying
No.
I was desperate to learn more, and you saw it as kind of. How did you explain it?
I mean, I would say that it's like what I took away from it for me was like just a good sci-fi movie with very low budget, interesting what it is, but I think that it actually just impacted me significantly more the first time than this time. This time I just felt that I know what is going to be like happening. You know, I know exactly what is like the progression of this character. But I felt like the transition from being this cold bitch that she could actually just kidnap, after knocking out like this swimmer, she can just take the body in front of a baby that she knows that she's going to be dying there. It's like, I can be this cold bitch, but then it's like I become like this defenseless character. Like in a transition that for me felt is like, I don't know, this is a bit forced. Maybe that's the thing, is like we see like that kind of treatment that is completely harsh, and it's like we see like the transition into someone that is like completely defenseless. And it felt a bit more about like, okay, I understand what you're trying to do, but this kind of, there is not a gradual transformation. There is like abandoning a baby on a beach where he's going to die, and we actually hear later that he died, then letting a guy with a deformed face run away, and then looking for your vagina, and then getting burned in a forest. Those are the four states.
Very reductive and also very accurate.
But it's true, is that there is more nuance. There is more nuance.
No, I see what you're saying. 100%.
I understand also what you say, and I think that is good about like saying, you know, what you're saying. I think it's completely valid too about talking about these talks about like we all have good things and bad. We see like that humanity about like the swimmer risking his life for saving the husband not giving any crap for saving his wife. You know, that is like, that is thing I also have to say, that is that there is a level of stupidity there that is not about like humanity being good, it's about humanity being stupid. Because the wife risks her life for actually just getting to rescue the dog without like thinking about her safety. And he's like, the husband, instead of thinking about like, oh my god, my baby is here, I'm going to be like risking my life for just saving my wife, that is clearly, part of my friends, stupid.
You have to take a step back because there are two people I would risk my life for in like a dangerous beach, and it's my husband and my dog, not Chihuahua, the expensive dog.
I like that you actually say like two people. You're already considering Salvatore a person.
It's my son.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. We are gay people. We are designed with this. Is that we have to treat our parents as if they were our kids. And what I'm saying is like I can understand like the lofty ambitions. I think that they work well the first time for me that I watched it. This time I felt it. I think that is because maybe I become like more jaded with the A24 style of cinema. I felt like this needed a bit more. The script needed a bit more. It's still good, but it needed a bit more.
But I think the strength of the filmmakers, both the director, the screenwriter, I didn't want to learn anything about the book because I feel like this is such a strong standalone film. I don't want to compare the two. I feel like they knew there were some weaknesses, and so they pulled back. They're like, we're not going to explain anything because there's something here that's impactful, and I don't want to use this word, but important.
Okay.
Because I think there is something here, at least it resonated with me. I was like, wow, like I've gone through so many emotions. And they knew that they couldn't explain any of this. They just had to show beautiful images, emotional images, and they didn't explain anything else.
And that's absolutely fine. You know, it's like sometimes cinema resonates with us in different ways. So, no bad on that.
And I feel like we're approaching the questions, so
Yeah.
the only thing I wanted to call out before we got to the questions is this fucking soundtrack. Holy fucking god. I have listened to it, I don't want to say non-stop, but at least a few times every year.
Wow.
This is an incredible piece of, it's not just soundtrack, it's the score. The score is incredible. It's
Yeah.
really, really good, and it doesn't tell you how to feel, but it definitely supports whatever emotional impact the scene that's playing wanted to have, in my opinion.
I could say that there are a couple of pieces that they are a bit more heavy-handed and they repeat them over and over. To be like completely frank, because there is like the one when the guy is like just walking down the pool. Is that they use the same piece over and over across the movie. There is a bit more is like alien doing shady business.
But do you feel like that music was saying feel happy, feel sad, feel confused, or was it just like underscoring something weird is happening and we don't know what? We don't know if it's good, we don't know if it's
Oh
bad.
no, we know that it's bad. We know there is like something unsettling and dangerous going on there. That one. That's the one that I feel is like, because it was like every single time that someone was approaching the van, I was with my boyfriend and I started like just singing it, like, here it comes again. Yeah, that one. Is the sign with the deal just being unsettling for the audience about like something bad is happening here.
Unsettling is a perfect word, but I don't feel like unsettling means bad or it means happy. It means, hey, this is unexpected. What's
Okay,
happening?
disturbing. Do you prefer disturbing?
Yeah, fine.
Because I think that unsettling has like a negative connotation. It's like you are not going to feel comfortable looking at something that is unsettling.
Agreed, but if someone were to walk up to me on the street and be like, hey, here's a winning lotto ticket, take it, that would be deeply unsettling for me, but that doesn't mean it's sad.
Okay, no, I mean, but there are other feelings. It's not everything is like happy, sad, angry.
Agreed. No, you can't pretend that I like see it as binary. I know there's a spectrum of emotion.
Okay.
The soundtrack wasn't for me on one end or the other of the spectrum.
No, and I'm saying that there are like some of the pieces that they try to be a bit more heavy-handed, like that one. That one is designed, is a piece that if I listen to it, now if I watch the movie a couple of times, I'm going to be like just feeling that unnerving feeling to it. But even listening by itself, I think that it's a tiny bit heavy-handed. Not too much, but it's a tiny about like, okay, there is something wrong happening here.
When you said unnerving, you're completely right, and yes, that does have a negative connotation. I understand what you're saying. I personally don't think it was heavy-handed. I think it fit perfectly into the film. But you're right. I mean,
no, I'm not.
Being like, hey, there's an alien dressed up as Scarlett Johansson raping men.
Of course, it's not a musical level, about like a choir. It's not like the Shia LaBeouf song, like singing on the background about like Scarlett Johansson is eating you. Yeah, and then Scarlett Johansson start like the slow clap. It's not at that level. I'm just saying that it's a good soundtrack, but I would say that the soundtrack also guides you a bit. At some point, not the whole movie is not about like just, and now it's going to be happy, and now it's going to be sad, and now it's going to be disturbing, and now someone's going to get it in.
I agree, and let me just say one thing. It's not like Gattaca.
Oh, no. Gattaca.
It's better than Gattaca.
Of course, after watching Gattaca a month ago, it's like this is, from the perspective of the narrative perspective, this is a masterpiece, about like just minimizing the disposition, because Gattaca and the David Lynch Dune, they were at the same level. This is like, there is no off voice, there is no looking at the camera explaining anything. There is a bit more about like, this is like your reality, and we're going to be like throwing something in there that looks like a human, and you're going to feel like really unnerved about like how they're going to be behaving. So I think that that's like proper sci-fi. It's like sci-fi properly done about like, I'm letting you think about it. And I think that I wouldn't be interested in checking the book, because I'm pretty sure that the book is going to be like taking some kind of approach to things. It's not going to be like letting things fly. It's going to be a bit more opinionated about like what is happening on the story.
Today I did read an article about some of the differences between the movie and the film, the movie and the book, and yeah, the book definitely reveals more, and I was like, no, I don't want to know more about this. I want it to be a mystery. I want to be an enigma. That's what I think the strength of this story is.
Yeah, this is one of those cases the less is significantly more, because the less is properly well handled.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting. I don't know if we are like just concocting a new question, but I had the feeling that we talk a lot about exposition. I mean, it's true that we have watched like many sci-fi movies back to back that we didn't used to watch them that often. But I had the feeling that we both really think that there is an art to don't expose too much, but at the same time making audience like think about what is happening. Sometimes you may see a movie that they don't explain anything, but you don't make like your world enticing. You say like, fuck this shit, I don't care.
At the risk of sounding super, super pretentious, I feel like you and I are on the same page about wanting art to make us ask more questions than it gives us answers to.
Correct. I agree. I just want a movie to actually just make me think more. You know, I want a movie that actually doesn't treat me as dumb. Having to explain every single thing.
That's what this film was. I was desperately looking for meaning. Like, what is the significance of this? Like, why am I feeling this intense, sad emotion for an alien that's been eating men? Like,
yeah. No, and I didn't even think about like the cyclic approach about like if Scarlett Johansson's Alien is just a replacement of the previous one. Because it failed, you know, and you may be absolutely right. And just like using the logic of that shouldn't have happened because it was crime.
But again, it doesn't matter if it's right, because that's what I got. You got something different, and everyone will get something different. I've actually been recommending this film to everyone I know, which is like 5 or 6 people. No one's gonna watch it, but I'm so desperate to hear the opinion of somebody else.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to hear your opinion, but it's like I want to hear my work wife in New Jersey. I want to hear what she thinks about this film.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that you already gave the answer to most questions, but could you watch it again?
100%. I know you feel differently. I liked this film as much this viewing, if not more.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is a bad movie. You know, it's like I will watch it again. Not right now. You know, I will watch it like probably in 3-4 years. I think that I may resonate in a different way. You know, I think that this is not a movie that is like, oh, I finished watching it, I want to watch it again. As we talk about some movies, this is like one of in some time. Let me forget some of the stuff because I have forgotten like half of the scene on the beach when I saw like the family with the kid and the dog. There's like something really bad is about to happen, but I don't remember what it is.
And also, as I was watching this film, I was like, this isn't the upper middle class, but there's a lot of existential dread. Like, this is my type of sci-fi.
It's my job.
This is exactly my type.
No, that's fair. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, 100% to anyone. Even if I thought they wouldn't like it, I would be like, you should watch this film.
I wouldn't recommend it to my parents, but I already recommend it to other people. I think that I could recommend it more to sci-fi lovers. Do what?
Because of so many erections?
I think that the nudity would be a bit shocking for them. About like, what is the point of this? You know, and it's true. It's a bit more unnerving, like treating that unnerving feeling, because they could have just get sucked with underwear, and we will be like, yep, they were there for what they were there, you know. But no, they had to go with like so that hard.
Full on hard dicks. Yep.
Yeah. Would you remember it?
So this was an interesting question because I felt like I had remembered so much about it, but I had forgotten at least 50%. I didn't even remember the ending.
Oh, okay.
Which was super impactful. I don't know why I didn't remember that, but no, I was blown away at how much I experienced for the first time again.
Oh, that's interesting. So, no?
I think the answer is no. I'll remember a very basic synopsis, but not details.
I'm going to say yes, because I remember like half of it. Of course, we both remember, and we have joked like many times about the scene, where is my vagina?
That one scene.
Yep, that is scene. But I remember that, for example, that she goes to the forest at the end and someone attacks her and someone burns her after seeing that they're alien. I remember that. I don't remember exactly who. I remember like the guy with the deformed face that she lets go. I remember partially that then he gets captured by the motorcycle rider. You know, and I remember the beginning.
That was one of my favorite scenes. I didn't remember it, and he just comes in, he destroys that car, he throws the guy in the trunk, and I was like, holy shit, this is horrifying.
Yep. While the woman is just looking, you know, like this old woman is like just staring through the window and not saying anything.
What, she doesn't care?
Nope. Well, no, it's a bit more like what I'm going to be doing, what I'm going to be saying, you know. I don't know these guys, and they just stole this car from a random person, you know. Is there anything artistic about it?
100%. I think the visual aspects of this film are so incredibly striking. They have just enough like nods to Stanley Kubrick to get it. Also see that this filmmaker is an individual artistically. There are so many beautiful scenes. Yes, this is one of the best directed films. Best directed sci-fi films. I would blame any like issues with the film on the script writer. I don't think there's any issues with the direction. I think it's incredibly well paced. I think he got the performances out of the actors he should have. I think.
I don't. Well, I mean, I wasn't thinking about like going as far as saying the directing is perfect. But I would say that there is like something artistic about almost every single scene. Yeah. Every single scene, even like the mundane ones, I feel like they are like really well directed, really like helping emphasize that eeriness that is around all the movie, but at the same time that normalcy that is like all through the movie. You know, when you see like all those fans that they're coming out of the soccer game, you know, as she's like just trying to drive and we see her face, but it's like she's always neutral to it. It's like I don't know, there is like something that is close to reality. It's almost like just falling into the uncanny valley, you know, about like it resembles reality, but you just push it a bit weird, like through the expression of Scarlett Johansson, that I think that this is her best performance.
I think I would agree with that. I mean, besides...
Are you going to say her or Black Widow?
Vicky Cristina Barcelona? No, but in seriousness, let me say that the opening sequence is incredibly beautiful. There are so many beautiful scenes. I could list probably 10 that I thought were like, holy shit, I'm watching this. But the final scene, when the logger has lit her on fire and she just walks slowly until she passes out in the snow, but it's from an incredible distance, as if none of this matters. I was so blown away by that image that I ended on such a high note. I was like, wow, the direction here is incredible.
Yeah, no, he had like a really good aesthetic understanding about what he wanted to achieve, so that's pretty good. Is this a timeless piece?
We talked about this earlier. I want to say yes. I'm guessing in 25 years, this film is going to be completely forgotten. So maybe it's just like my hopes that this won't be forgotten. But I don't have any faith in this film to stand the test of time. So I would say timely.
Timely? Okay. I'm going to say that whenever we watch this movie, we're going to be like getting the same value out of it. For me, it's timeless. I don't think that the topics that it take, they are as transcendental as you mentioned it earlier, or at least they don't resonate with me like that. But from the perspective of a sci-fi story, I think that this movie could have been done like 40 years ago or today. The special effects could have been different, but I think that they are like pretty well used. I think that is like timeless from the perspective that this is going to be able to generate the same reaction today as it will be like 20 years in the future.
You're making me want to change my answer, because I think, yes, if we were to watch this film 50 years in the future, we would get the same subjects examined, but I don't think this film will make it.
Oh no, I don't think that this is going to be like jumping to the list of 100 best movies ever made. I don't think so. But
2010 best films, the best sci-fi films that came out in
no,
2010.
because I think there was a bit of a flop. I think that Scarlett Johansson. The problem is, I had the feeling that Scarlett Johansson had a bit of a problem on her career, that she didn't really know what she wanted to do with it.
And so she was like, I'm gonna do Under the Skin and then commit to 9 Marvel movies.
Correct. It's like actually one of the reviews that I was reading from that year is like, hey, this actually was a bit of a flop, but don't worry because the Avengers Age of Ultron is going to be like making on the opening night as much as this movie is going to be like doing his whole career. It's a bit more like, okay, what do you really want to be? Because this is like an indie darling. Is that you want to actually just be like quote unquote Daniel Day-Lewis, there's like, oh no, I only want to choose like really specific roles that they just fit me perfectly? Or do you want to just, like be a blockbuster, or do you want to do like quirky comedies like Jojo Rabbit? It's like, what do you want?
And then she's just gonna do both and marry Colin from SNL from Weekend Update.
Oh, gosh, I didn't know that. I just feel like getting her career split, I think that it actually put her in a very awkward position. It's like when Robert Downey Jr. started doing Iron Man, the Iron Man movies, he did the Sherlock Holmes ones at the same time. It's like he actually committed into, I'm going to be a blockbuster actor. It's like I'm not going to keep working with the guy from Shortcuts or anything like that. It's like for me, it's like I want the big stuff.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, he was doing like small comedies like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang until he realized like these indie films are kind of cool, but I'm gonna go make hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep. Well, the problem is like if you actually do something like Iron Man, it's like people that they're going to be like watching these indie films, they're not going to feel attracted to just watching like a movie with that specific actor or actress. Is that they're not going to be like taking it seriously, Is that the only one that
I was committed to Scarlett Johansson after this film, after Match Point, that I know you don't like, but she was doing small, intimate films that I felt were super interesting. And now she does Avengers Black Widow, and I don't watch any of those films, none of them.
Well, there is another thing, is that she's also, 35, 38 now? Is that's the age when actresses disappear.
So you think she stays in the Marvel universe to stay relevant?
I don't think that she did it on purpose, but I think that she basically got to a point that was a role that she was going to get offered. But right now, just think about it, like she has been killed on the Marvel universe and she's being replaced by Florence Pugh.
Oh, that makes me sad.
So I like Florence Pugh, don't get me wrong. I think
I do too, but Alison Pill had a shot and she pissed off everyone, and so
she did?
Yeah, if you watch interviews with like the rest of the Marvel cast, they're all super assholes to her because apparently she was super difficult on set.
What does he do on the Marvel universe, Alison Pill?
I think I'm mixing up actors' names at this point. Who played Captain America, the female version?
Oh, that's Brie Larson, no?
That's what I'm talking about. Sorry, not Alison Pill. I
Yes.
love Alison.
Yeah, I love Alison Pill, and it's an actress that I think that she never got like a really big shot at, doing like something really, really huge, But Florence Pugh, I like her. I mean, it's the girl from from Midsommar, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think
she has a part as Scarlett Johansson's Russian sister.
Where?
In the Marvel movie that I don't care about.
Yeah, because it's like basically the new Black Widow.
Yeah, no.
This is like the most, I think that is like the most misogynist that I've seen like the Marvel Cinematic Universe get. That is like, let's just remove Black Widow, for a new Black Widow that is the younger model. That is her sister, his Russian sister.
We'll reboot it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, no one will realize about it, but at the same time you use the guy from Hooper, from Stranger Things.
I have no patience for the Marvel universe at all.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that I respected it was Thor Ragnarok, because it was written by Taika Waititi and he starred Kate Blanchett. and she gets really into it. She's hilarious. Well, she's hilarious and disturbing on the role that she does.
Also, wasn't that Natalie Portman's first film after winning the Oscar for Black Swan?
Maybe it was the first. Well, the first one, the first Thor.
The
movie.
first Thor, yeah.
Yeah, this is like the third or the fourth one, you know. But no,
I can't keep up.
yeah. But in any case, it's like that's well made because the script is good, and I think that is like a Marvel movie can actually be an enjoyable movie if the script is good. In any case, if you're trying to make Under the Skin and at the same time you're doing on the same year Avengers Age of Ultron, is that your career is like completely split. Is that people are not going to be the people that they go to watch like Marvel movies, they're not going to be watching, you know, Under the Skin.
Well, like I said, I was a big Scarlett Johansson fan, and then she started to do all that, and I was like, nope, I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to go to the theater see any of that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like a bit torn about her. I think that she's talented, but I think that her career after this year that she was nominated twice and she didn't win an Oscar for either of the roles, I think there's like, yeah, well, last year that your career is over.
But also, she has so much money. So much money.
Yeah, probably she doesn't need to keep working at all. She could actually retire and say like, screw all of this. It's like, yeah, it's true, I'm 38. I don't need anything else, you know, but it's just sad. In any case, let's go back to the question, is that for me, this is timeless.
I really want to change my answer, but I'm not going to.
That's absolutely fine. Would you turn this into a TV show?
Absolutely not. Nope.
Yeah. No, I think that this works as a bit more of a self-contained movie, and even like the 100 minutes that it lasts, I would have cut 10 of 10. I mean, it was not like bad per se, you know, but it's like, I don't need, you know, like this development here.
But I feel like if we had learned anything more about the characters than we did in the 140 minutes, I wouldn't care. I would think, oh, no, don't explain this to me.
We don't need it. Yeah,
Yep.
No, definitely. I agree. Yeah, for me, I will never turn this into anything longer. It's absolutely fine as it is. Well, absolutely fine. Let me just connect to the next question. Do you think this movie could have been better?
I'm gonna say no. This film is such an enigma, a mystery to me. That's the entire appeal. Just be a mystery. Make me feel a little bit weird, unnerved, like you said, but don't explain any more. I thought the performances were fantastic. I thought, no, I would not change anything.
Okay. I had initially written yes, because I think that the script could have been a bit better, but I still don't know exactly how. You know, it's like I think that is like I just want to have that catharsis moment that you describe about like, oh, this is about humanity and everything, and for me it was like, this has been a sci-fi movie, and it's a really good sci-fi movie, but it doesn't feel important from that perspective. It just felt like, yeah, it was good.
That's almost like another very good question. Is this important? Because I don't know that I would answer yes to this film, even though I loved it.
Oh, interesting. Because I thought that,
right?
yeah, I thought that you were going to say yes for sure to being important to this film. But yeah, in any case, so
let's consider it.
no, that's interesting. Let's just put it on the back burner because that may be an interesting one to keep. Should we score it?
Yes, we should. This was your pick, kind of.
No, it was your pick. I
Oh,
did the
it's my
summary, so I should actually talk about. Sorry, like score it first. So my score, I didn't change it from the beginning. I just oscillated a bit, but my score is a 7. I think that it's a really good movie. You know, and as I said, it's like this is good sci-fi, like quality sci-fi, that I think that is hard to do nowadays. From the perspective of trying to do like something that it doesn't spit everything on your face. And in some days we're going to see Dune, the 2021 version, and I'm really curious to see how that actually works compared with this, a minimalistic sci-fi movie.
After we see Dune and we score it, we should compare it to this film
Oh, definitely.
and see how we feel.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be like mentioning Under the Skin quite a bit on that one.
So my score is an 8.5. Regardless of whether you think there are problems with the movie itself, I honestly can't think of another sci-fi film that made me feel like this or want to learn more about it or interpret it. This is a really good film in my opinion.
Gotcha. So you like it more than Blade Runner?
100%, maybe 1000%.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I'm trying to just check if we have any other sci-fi movies recently. But no.
And I think that's just a generational thing. Like, I was 6 when Blade Runner came out. Now I'm a full-grown adult who has like a full set of emotions and a toolbox to deal with them. So maybe this is just like what I needed in my age bracket as a millennial.
Well, A24 targets, mostly to millennials.
Angsty millennials.
Yeah. I mean, there is nothing wrong with that. I just think that they know their audience and they know exactly how to, resonate with them.
They found their target market, their target demographic.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, man. So if we are done, what should we be talking about on the next one?
We are going to talk about the 2010 classic. It's not a classic. Nobody saw this movie, but I fucking loved it. It's called Meek's Cutoff by Kelly Reichardt. I'm sure I mentioned her on this podcast before. I think she's one of the most important American directors working today. She has never been a huge commercial success, but she's absolutely loved within the filmmaking industry. So like Michelle Williams is in her films, Kristen Stewart, Laura Dern, because people love her so much. I think her films resonate with me a lot because I am American and I really wanted to share just one of her films with you. It's very small in scale. I wanted to see if you could relate at all. You know how much I respect your opinion, so we're gonna watch Meek's Cutoff, the 2010 film.
Cool, yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, I heard you mentioning her like multiple times. I've always been meaning to watch something by her, and I always forget about it. So thank you so much for just picking this. And to everyone else listening to us, thank you so much for having the patience, putting up with us.
And keep washing your hands even if there's no mask mandate, because things are super confusing now. So just wash your hands.
Okay, bye.